And I pressed the record button. Welcome, everyone, to Party Chat People's Something. It used to be a podcast, and now we're on YouTube, and I decided that we're not a podcast, and the normal, regular people who are on the show are not here, so they can't do anything about it. So instead, I am hoomonz, and I'm joined by Meat Popsicle and regular Xenomorph. How are you guys doing? How are
Great.
you hoomonz doing?
Doing regular.
Doing regular?
Doing meat.
Doing.
Good.
That's
Mine didn't fit
that's
that one. You
very
did really well.
that's very Doom guy of you. You're doing meat.
Yep.
Feels like a Doom guy thing.
Hmm.
But there's another person who's with you today, Mr. Meat Popsicle. And who might that be?
Oh, that's a character called Isabel from Animal Crossing.
What's
that sound
an
like a
Animal
setup?
Crossing?
What's an Animal Crossing? That's a good question. I'll throw that over to our other guest.
What is Animal Crossing? The question is, what isn't Animal Crossing? Is it an allegory, a metaphor, a fever dream, a video game where you pretend to live in an island with animal friends? Mostly that last one.
Wait, it is or isn't that? I'm confused.
I'm pretty sure it is that, at least in my playing of it.
All right, so it is a video game, and it is a video game where you do things with fake animal friends.
A friend of mine called it Animal Chores for a long time. I played the franchise for over a decade at this point, and it's more or less adulthood simulator with animals.
That is fair, and I do find that aspect of it being Animal Crossing to be kind of fascinating because of like what it does to the player game interaction. That the only humans in the game is the players. It's just like
Yeah.
hierarchy. Like,
Is it?
You sneaky fucks. I don't know, but that's how I think about games. So
They seem to be the only one allowed to wear pants too.
that is true. That is very true. Cheers to that.
I don't know what it means, but it means something.
Yes, it does. I think perhaps a useful question for the unwashed masses of 0 people listening to us would be, is good? Is good question mark thing?
It is good.
Why good? Why good?
Why?
Why good it?
Why good it? I don't know. It's fun. Definitely scratches that little creativity itch that you get with some video games, you know, making everything your own, customizing it, realizing you did it wrong. You can never fix it.
You can fix it. It's just going to take a lot of time.
A lot of time and money. Oh my God.
So this is definitely like something that I want to launch into, and this is where I'll stop being an incoherent buffoon
Okay.
and share actual real thoughts. Real thoughts, TMZ are other things. So I like this game mostly, and I like this game for very strange reasons. As with most games in my experience, it's also just a question of timing. Like, I think that if I wasn't playing this game in the context that I was playing it, I would feel differently. Like, I just think that's always true.
Yeah.
And
It literally came out at the perfect moment.
yeah, it's like, oh, I get to go and be on an island and escape from the city during a pandemic, and like that is good. And the thing that I like about this game, though, in a nutshell, is I think it's good for me and where I'm at right now in my life. There's a concept that I like to allude to, which is like a gaming diet, right? And it's just like, what's in your gaming diet? What do you want to game for? Why do you game? Like, these are things that I think about, and those answers change over time. But where I am right now and where I'm going to be, Animal Crossing is a good game for me for a bunch of reasons. I don't know. Thoughts?
Yeah, no, totally agree with that. You have you have the games that you play for different reasons. This one definitely, like you said, came out at the right moment. And like we said before, scratches that little building itch. Has a lot of escapism, very calm, not very stressful. You can't overplay it technically,
Yes, you
which
can,
is
but
interesting.
okay.
You can, but you have to like really try to overplay it.
Yeah,
But it
kind
kind
of.
of forces you into a routine.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but I also find it fascinating, like the things that people don't like about it, right? I don't know if you guys might be fans of, shout out to Girlfriend Reviews, but they did a pretty funny video that where
Hmm.
they flipped it up and they did a boyfriend review. Normally
Yeah.
it's the girlfriend reviewing the experience of what it's like to be a girlfriend with the dude playing a game, and instead they flipped it on its head and it's like, okay, so here's the review from the boyfriend's perspective as a one-off video of what it's like to have her play the game all the time, right? And
Yeah.
he does the same things that she would do during her videos and like bitch and complain about the things that drive him nuts. And he fits a kind of stereotypical gamer profile, I guess. Like that sort of, I don't know, that's all I mean by it. You go watch a video yourself. But I find it fascinating, like the things that he doesn't like. For example, he just bitches about how things take time, and I'm just like, yeah, they take time. Remember when Fallout Shelter came out and everyone was like, Bethesda is God, this game is great, and the entire game was waiting? Like, what the fuck? Like, it's very strange how people have patience for some things and don't have patience for other things.
Well, yeah, but you got to be like engaged with the thing that you're playing, or else you're never gonna stick with it.
I share an island with my boyfriend, and he has not played for a month, and I think that's the latest tally. I've been
Mm.
building a memorial shrine to him on my island.
Aw,
trolling.
I know somebody who actually did that, like really in their game.
What,
Like,
trolling?
no,
Oh,
like
made an
actually
actual
built a little
memorial.
memorial shrine in
Oh.
their island.
I mean, Animal Crossing has some stories. Oof.
Okay, I
Yeah.
should clarify. He is alive and well. He just doesn't play as often as I do, and I stopped using his actual portrait because we decided it was too real. We use a portrait of his little avatar now. On the easel by the memorial.
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually really funny.
So I made
It's a little weird that you started with his real face there.
Well,
that.
one of the things that's really badass about Animal Crossing is like Animal Crossing as an avenue for like expression,
Mhm.
either for yourself or with friends. Like it's actually very good at that, and it's
Mm.
the sort of game where if you choose to engage with the an element of the game, multiplayer, that the game kind of wants you to, uh, it feels good, and it's actually like forcing you to play in a certain way. And that's, I always appreciate when a design accomplishes that. It forces you to play in a certain way that actually feels good. So like things that normally would drive people nuts, like no easy voice chat or the limitation of the keyboard, I'm having fun with it because I'm like, oh, I hate typing, I'm really impatient. Like that's just me. That's absolutely like a universal constant in my
Oh,
brain.
yeah, that's
but
not just you.
but instead, as both of you can kind of attest to, I push back on the game by butchering language and trying to make the message as short as possible.
Can
Mm.
confirm.
So I don't know what more things you like. Go.
More things I like. You go first.
Okay, I will say that as someone who's played for a while, the multiplayer is a really welcome addition, even though it is not perfect by a long shot.
It's Nintendo.
Yeah, there are easier ways to do voice and chat, I've learned. There's an app you can download, but it's sort of more fun without them. Because
Well, that's yeah. Like I very much meant when I said there's no easy way, right? You can do Nintendo Club, but one of the things that I think is important is, with Nintendo games in general, even though Western audiences are like, I can't talk to my friends, this is bullshit. It's like, go download Discord, shut up. Like, yeah, it's dumb. People are dumb, but like, it's actually it's a protect kids thing. That's what it is. Like, Nintendo games are for kids, period, and they intentionally obfuscate communication dynamics to make it hard for kids to get harassed, bullied, stalked. Like, it's intentional, you know. But tossing the heavy shit aside for a moment, as an adult, like, the side effect of that is regardless of why they do it, right? Like, that multiplayer is set up in such a way that nonverbal communication becomes fun, right? Like, every time you get an emote, you know, when I start the game off, I'm playing like mostly multiplayer, like I mostly start every game, and I'm just like, oh, an emote, okay, I don't give a fuck, right? And then it's like, okay, I got the sneezing emote, who gives a shit? And then I'm like, wait a minute, that's funny, I'm gonna go to Conrad's Island and use the sneezing emote on him repeatedly while wearing a
Yeah.
doctor's mask because I'm an asshole.
Mm,
And
I can agree.
But yeah, I don't know, thoughts?
It's also a time in human history when nonverbal communication is sort of at a premium. You have to schedule your nonverbal communication with your friends very intentionally, or to go without it, basically.
Yeah.
And this, I found that with friends who live in the city and also away from the city, we're sort of on a similar level because I can express, sorrow is my go-to currently, but also laughter and joy and sleepiness. And that's what's missing from our relationships right now.
That makes a lot of sense. And obfuscation is like an interesting hurdle to try to like jump when you're trying to express yourself to someone in general. Like, but in Animal Crossing specifically, like, it becomes playful because on some level you do a thing and you get a reaction out of someone and you don't necessarily know what that reaction might be. You don't know what emotes they have, you don't know jack shit, but like, they're left over there by themselves, like, trying to figure out, like, what the fuck, why is this person doing this, right? Like, why the hell is Savi repeatedly sneezing on me?
Well, I know exactly why Savi's repeatedly sneezing on me, but you already went over that.
I'm an asshole. There's a song I like that goes, I'm an asshole because the sun is shining and I am not smiling. But that's besides the point.
I think my first doctor's mask came from you, actually.
You're first.
Yeah,
Ah!
you mailed it to me.
Mm,
So I
word.
think two very different approaches to, digital relationships here.
Well, it's all about the interpretation. That's the thing with obfuscation. No, like, it's a really fun way to communicate because um, uh, in general, right? Like, I'm obsessed with communication. Like, I thought longer and harder about AOL Instant Messenger conversations than I did about any of the motherfuckers that were in my classroom, right? Like, um, and and something that I've learned is like, a fun way to communicate with people is like with pokes, right? Like, it's this playful kind of thing of just like, I poke you, okay, what do you do now? I poke you, okay, what do you do now? And like, the pokes that you have in Animal Crossing are kind of cute, right? Like, it's really hard to be a dick in Animal Crossing. Like, it's intentionally quite hard. And that's also a vital part of its design. I think that more games should steal those design principles. Like, don't be a dick and make it hard to be a dick in particular, right? Um, that said, I'm sure that Conrad has some horror stories from Reddit about how people are being a dick.
On Animal Crossing?
Yeah, didn't you share a story with me about like people trying to steal other people's shells and all sorts of other shit?
Well, yeah, that's just like the common courtesy stuff of like when you show up to your friend's island, don't just start trying to steal like the free stuff, like the fossils and the shells or whatever. But you're all right. The game does actually do a lot to prevent most horrible stuff like that. But it does also impact the gameplay. You can't pick up or move furniture. You can't decorate. You can't bury anything. And it makes it very hard to do something you thought you would take for granted in another game. Like, let's say, oh, let's trade up items or something, because there's certain things it won't let you do that.
Well, not trading items, that absolutely makes sense to me from an economy perspective, like how much you want to make the economy in any video game
Mhm.
liquid, right, is like a really hard design challenge to consider. And like Nintendo's on one end of the spectrum, and they're isolating your items in such a way that it is difficult to trade, right?
Yeah.
Not impossible, but it takes time, it takes effort, it takes consideration. Do you want to put in that time, right? I feel like the design is constantly making me confront that question. Do I want to put in the time? Which is one of my
Mhm.
favorite things about the game, because I think that Minecraft, I think that Animal Crossing and games like it, like possibly Minecraft, actually do a good job of presenting you with that question, where it's like, I'm I can be kind of OCD, and like if I play Minecraft on some level, I'm just like, what's stopping me from mining 5 billion dirt? And it's
Oh,
like
nothing.
nothing. And
Yeah.
then like 2 hours later, I'm just like, that was a waste of fucking time. And then like I reflect on it, and I'm just like, okay, what am I doing? Like, how am I even interacting with the sandbox, right? And Animal Crossing gives you some goals, but not a lot, and it's never pushy.
Right,
Oh,
there are rewards, but not penalties.
Yes.
yeah, exactly. There's no like time limit for a lot of things, with the one big exception being turnips,
Yes.
which I of
Which
course used to ruin, the in-game economy recently. So that was fun. Oh wait, I actually
and
didn't talk to you about that. Last week it was like the third or fourth time that I had like my island's turnip prices get ruined again. And I was like, oh, this is so frustrating. I poured 2 million into turnips and I'm gonna lose money. I should try to
two
get out. I put 2 million into turnips, and I was gonna lose money on selling them on mine, and I'm trying to get to people and like, hey, can I sell on yours? Nah, I'm not around. Hey, can I sell on yours? Whatever. Eventually I go to Reddit and I start finding like the community of people who are trying to invite people to their island just to sell. And there's like the
Mm,
people who have the high prices that are impossible to get to, the people with the low prices who are like, yeah, show up, whatever. Um, and the weird mechanics that they use, like rotating queues with codes so you can get on the island and then leave the queue, that kind of stuff. It's not
wait.
in the game.
Oh, okay,
It's
okay. I see what you're
like
talking
on
about.
completely separate systems.
So I'm mostly a single player gamer,
Mm.
and but something that I'm enjoying doing in Animal Crossing is role playing, which both of you may have noticed.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm doing when I roll, like, you guys haven't seen my latest layout design of my island. It's shit's gotten crazy. Um, Essentially, I am trying to design the entrance to my island so that trolls cannot do anything, despite the fact that I have invited 0 random people to my island, because it's
Okay.
fun for me.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And so like the way that I've designed my island looks kind of like a chaotic mess, but like so much of it is intentional. And I look forward to, if it ever comes, the day that I like throw my dodo code on like Reddit and just like wait for people and just see what the fuck happens.
Mm-hmm.
That is an interesting point because there's this sort of meta economy around Animal Crossing now too, especially with turnips. But there are entire websites that are dedicated to helping connect people with, sellers of markets and that sort of thing. Nookazon is a good example too. And so the game doesn't extend just into the game anymore; it's sort of into the internet.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Exactly. So yeah, those tools that you were talking about for like finding turnip prices that are good, connecting to people, it's all outside of the game. And also, of course, Discord. Because when you were talking about the limited in-game communication and inferring meaning, yeah, for me that was fun for a minute, but eventually I picked up my phone. I'm like, hey, where are you? What do you want?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that's fine. Like I said, I really like pokes, and I really like uh, fucking around with communication protocols. And the informal protocol that we developed was, Zavi, you're being annoying. I'm calling you, and that's fine. But what do you call it? What was that?
It's the red cord that you pull to remember that you're playing.
I'm not playing a game. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, so the what do you call it? In Animal Crossing, like I genuinely think that it's just it just does very fascinating things to keep it a pleasant experience. Like it's almost right, almost as though Nintendo is like so protective of its users that it's like you're gonna have a good time no matter what, motherfucker. Like this is gonna be a pleasant game, and I say almost because all corporations are evil, but that's besides the point. But like it's I don't know, it's just a fascinating design, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely very different than any other kind of like builder or multiplayer game I would play. So if you want to compare it to what you said before, Minecraft, you invite someone onto your Minecraft server without any special protocols, and there is nothing stopping them from, let's say, breaking into your house and filling it with lava.
Yes, being a human turd.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh. I actually
Or in
just
the
started
case
dicking
of,
around
oh,
with the Minecraft Earth beta.
I don't know what that is.
Look it up.
Okay.
You were saying?
Oh no, I remember you were one of the people who were part of our when it comes to like building stuff, the 7 Days to Die group when they kept breaking into our house even though we had like the defenses and all that other nonsense.
You know what? If I may, Conrad, tell that story, please.
Which part?
Just however the hell you want.
Sure. So I'll start with the more normal part. So 7 Days to Die, for anyone who doesn't know, is a zombie survival game with a lot of building elements in it, like Minecraft or something like that. Um, but with the realistic gun survival mechanics in it too. And at some point, a bunch of us got on a server that Zavi was hosting. Thanks for paying for that, by the way. And we found a base, built it up, and we were building defenses. And there's a mechanic in the game where you can build things that protect like a pillar of land, and that land is then owned by your team or by you, and nobody's allowed to dig in there or build things in there unless you let them. So what people were doing who were joining the server who were not part of our team was like probing it for weaknesses, and eventually they found that there was one like narrow channel that we hadn't protected correctly. So they built a staircase out of little wooden blocks onto our roof. And then they found the spot in our roof that was unprotected. It was like a single block, broke in, came in, stole a bunch of our stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, which was interesting because you get to come back to the base and see like the crime scene of like boxes stacked diagonally over the building, and then a single hole, and then the spots where they were trying to dig into our house, avoiding the doors because they couldn't break the doors, but they were trying to like break the frame around the door, that kind of stuff. And we just got to see
Uh,
like the crime scene evidence of all this. And then, of
yeah.
course, we built it back up and then started all the fun stuff with the chairs.
Oh God, the chairs. Let's not get into that. But that'll be a story for another day. But yeah, I mean, like 7 days that was fun, and like that's like the way my brain operates. Is like I'm going to keep this server open and see what happens. Like that's how I like to play with games, systems, what have you. Right.
Yeah.
So like
But
even
Animal
though I'm
Crossing
not
won't let that stuff happen.
well, it won't internally, but like you said, there's a metagame, right? Fancy xenomorph, very nice. Like the what do you call it? Like the metagame that's present, whether Nintendo likes it or not, involves Reddit, involves all these other things, and so player behavior that Nintendo cannot control is it's all fair play from the metagame perspective, right? So if I take a dodo code and throw it on Reddit and say nothing, and then I change my character to look creepy as fuck and hold the metal axe and stand in front of my boat as people arrive just to see what they do. That's my version of fun.
Mm.
Why not?
I like to build nice things for my villagers, but whatever.
I also like to build nice things for my villagers. I actually am building kind of a baseball diamond,
Okay.
which I didn't realize I was doing until I was like halfway done. And then I was like, this looks like a baseball diamond. That's what I'm building.
Laboriously invented baseball.
What was that?
You laboriously invented baseball again.
I mean, not really, because I can't play with anyone. So like,
Yeah.
I would have to really deeply reconsider what the fuck baseball and Animal Crossing is, and I don't have time for that shit.
Yeah, no. That is one of the other unfortunate things in Animal Crossing is you can't interact with a lot of things beyond like the very obvious. And even like
Mm.
a lot of the assets are just like you can poke it and maybe it'll make a noise.
And that's something
Maybe.
I want to pivot to. What are the complaints, right?
Yeah.
That's one for me. In a nutshell, it is some combination of disappointing but also weirdly clever that very few objects interact with you in any meaningful way. The reason I say that it's disappointing is pretty obvious. Like you just try to interact with things and they do nothing, and that's kind of like boo. But the reason that it's kind of clever is that when something actually responds to you in any way, it's like so like
Yeah.
my example of that is instruments, right? I have one instrument, a flute of some kind. I don't know what it's called because I'm not a music person. I'm a karaoke person. But what do you call it? Like
The piano.
it makes, I don't know, I guess. It's made of bamboo, I think. There you go. But like I like that thing because it makes a noise. And then I take that thing and I put it in the room with the spooky skull cassette player that's playing spooky music,
Mhm.
and the lights are really spooky. And then I try to play along to the music while my character vaguely looks like they're masturbating, but whatever.
Nintendo, it's gonna be vague.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, and also it's when you were saying that it's special when the thing interacts with you. Yeah, it definitely does feel more special for the specific things. Like, did you ever get the not Godzilla, the big monster?
Oh yes,
I think
Okay.
Nina has one on her island.
Yeah,
yes.
I've
Yeah.
got one on my island walking in from the ocean. And of course, you get a little excited when you poke it and then it's like, oh, it's making noise. It's shooting fire out of its mouth because nothing else does that.
Mm.
And
And
mhm,
not to continue talking about all the good shit about the game, but like people are doing really cool things in terms of expressing themselves in this game with the little tools that they have. Like the stuff that people are doing is just downright inspiring. Like using camera tricks, using perspective tricks to like
mhm,
do all kinds of shit. And it's just like I would have never fucking thought of that, but now I want to. Like it's really cool.
mhm. Yeah, of course. That the force perspective stuff was fun. I like the lighthouses and all that stuff in the distance. That part was cool. But yeah, no,
Yes.
the game has room for creativity. You do occasionally hit that moment where you expect something to work and just kind of like, didn't do.
And it happens pretty often.
Yeah.
Like or it happens pretty often until you give up. Which is disappointing in a way. Like on some level, a lot of what the game has me thinking about is like Western versus Eastern game design, because like why does Nintendo think this is acceptable and why do we think it's unacceptable? It's, I don't know, it's tricky.
I don't know if that's Western versus Eastern though. I think that is very much Nintendo. Nintendo wants things very controlled and kind of simple and what you were saying before, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. But that's actually like one of my complaints in a nutshell is it's a children's game. It is. It's designed for children. It is for children. And that only makes me wonder and hope, like, what the fuck would adult Animal Crossing be other than the first thing that Conrad thought of?
It was the first thing I thought of.
I don't know, but it was probably bad.
I actually had an actual thought on this. What was the name of that game? The one that Drew Carey was super into all those
The
years ago.
Sims.
No, The Sims was one of them. I
Okay.
guess that's kind of like adult Animal Crossing. No, the other one, the
I don't know.
Second Life. I
Docken
get
Docken Life?
no Second
Oh,
Life.
Second Life. Second Life.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a kind of sense. I've never actually fucked around with Second Life myself.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It went to the bad place that things go to when you give them that much freedom.
I don't know what you're talking about. Reddit has no Nazis, zero.
It's a beacon.
It's a beacon. It's a fucking
Tiny little-
lovely Twitter. Oh, Twitter. Mwah.
Not acceptable at all.
That's funny.
That adult Animal Crossing would have to have maybe a more unified set of politics, because we were talking a moment ago about interactive objects, and I was thinking that one of my favorite, I hesitate to say object, is a snapping turtle that I caught in the river on my island. I've named him. I have a cat bed for him and a tower and everything. I'm really into the tableaus on my island. But in previous games, there have been kappas who are not exactly turtles, but are not turtles. And you can catch frogs. I have 2 frogs on my island. I feel like a game that was geared towards adults would maybe have to reckon a little bit more with who gets to be a player and what the economy signifies. And I don't think that's really where the game wants to go.
Well, that's a really good thread to pull on. Like, what are the politics of this game, and what do they mean, and how does that feel, and like, do I like them? Because while none of that is consciously the words that are streaming through my head as I play the game, there are things that I do and don't do that reflect my politics, whether I like to or not, that I think are really funny. Like, Stacy thinks that my island looks like a trash island because it looks to her disorganized. But I'm just sitting there going like, oh no, everything has been placed in this area that you are looking at with a purpose. If you move this item one pushing unit forward, it blocks off all of this space from access. Like, that little fucking thingamajig is a key. And she's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm just like, and like, the way I play, again, I like role playing. Like, the way that I role play, I don't think you can role play without like fucking injecting yourself into it, right? It's pretty impossible. And what the game allows and doesn't allow is very interesting, right? So like, an adult Animal Crossing that has a unified set of politics, is that how you put it?
I think so. It sounds.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
no,
like,
it's abstract, but I have some sense of what you mean. Like, the politics of Animal Crossing aren't any more clear to me than like Nintendo wants your money. Like, that's the clearest that I can get. And of course they do, and of course most companies do, right? Like, that's why what would be exciting to me would be a independent take on the genre, right? For adults and so on and so forth, because you have stabs at that, right? You have your Stardew Valleys, you have other things like that, but Stardew Valley is, to me, not remotely relaxing, not like a little bit, because the moment that you have the time pressure of like, you have a limited number of days before things happen, and then they're gone forever, and I'm just like, panic, get everything done right now. And like, Animal Crossing is like, no, we run on your time, and nothing will happen until tomorrow. So if you get bored, just like fucking go home, man. Like, it doesn't say that, but it does say that in its design. So yeah, it's different values, I would say, right?
Sure, yeah.
So like, what values do we want in adult Animal Crossing?
That's a that's a big question.
that's a big question that I accidentally raised.
I know that Zavi wants his flute to still be there no matter what.
More or less, but like, when I think about the things that I want in a kind of raw, immediate response kind of way, like, item interactivity is important to me, because why should I collect shit if I can't do shit with it? That's just how I think. And
Yeah,
so
there is actually, I was thinking about that earlier today. What is fun about collecting stuff in that game, even though a lot of it doesn't do anything or you can't do the things you want with it?
right.
The assets, the quality of the assets in there, I think that really helps. They're really, really, really high quality things, and you can just like, even if you can't interact with it, the second you've put something together and somebody else sees it, you're there, they immediately understand like, oh, this is what you're going for. This is what it would look like and would act like if it, worked.
That's an interesting idea. Yeah, because like, to say as though it's a truism that the objects are not interactable is false, right? You press a button and items react or don't react. A lot of them don't react at all in any way, but a lot of the interactions are minuscule, right? And that is a function of like it takes a lot of work to
Yeah.
craft interactions. Like you said, like the art direction essentially is very good, and you can't knock it. You don't necessarily want that to degrade in adult Animal Crossing, but at the same time, I don't feel fulfilled by the interactions. Why is that? Right?
Mm-hmm. No, it makes sense. If it's not fulfilling because you can't interact with it, that totally makes sense. I got that feeling early on. It was like, oh, why am I doing this? But yeah, the fact that it's so high quality that you can look at it and be like, this in real life, this is what that would be like. You see what I'm getting at, and then everyone sees it and understands it. It's you're filling in the rest in your head.
Right. It's that's where the opportunities to express yourself really are. It's in the gaps of what they don't do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Other games like a Minecraft or a 7 Days or something, the fun in it is the thing I made is really functional. I took these pieces of wood and now they're a door. Now they're this. Now this metal is a spinning fan blade that I drop zombies into or whatever.
Yeah. And for me, the fun in interacting with systems is about the interplay between myself and the system. And the interplay between myself and the systems in Animal Crossing, like I said, there's gaps, and the gaps are nice because they let me role play and they let me do other things, but that is to some extent video game masturbation. I am playing with myself. Like there's not it doesn't feel fair to say that I'm interacting with the system in the game. I'm interacting with my own bullshit, right? And that's okay. Role playing is not bad, but
Yeah. Well, you can't forget the second part. A building game's not done until you show the thing you made to somebody else.
that's a fair point. Yeah, that's a very fair point. Like one thing that's interesting about Minecraft Earth to me is they have scoped the experience to something small enough that I feel that the limitations help me express myself. So like only having an 8x8 area to work with, right? Okay, then I'm going to level everything. That takes 2 minutes. All right, I'm done. I'm bored now. What do I want to do now? Okay, now I'm going to put a layer of dirt. Okay, I did that. Now what? Now I'm going to poke out holes in a layer of dirt to like spell my name. How hard is that? Oh, it's actually kind of hard. I only have 8x8 to work with, right? Like that kind of playing with the system is quite fun for me. So like some version of that I would want in I don't know. I just feel weird calling it adult Animal Crossing every time.
There's already that to go there.
Oh no. Oh no.
If you want to find what you're looking for, just type that into Google.
No, I already saw the picture that our mutual friend sent us, and I was just like, nope, I want none of this.
Which
Uh,
one is that?
our fellow Meeseeks community member, the one who would do this, sent an image at the dude who you can like just pose for photos. Like that's his whole reason for existing.
Oh, Harv? I've still never
Yeah.
visited this island. I
Okay,
don't know
that dude.
anyone who has.
I have, but
Okay.
what do you call it? He basically sent a picture that was
Oh,
staged using Hearts Island that tries to make it look like, and I will say these words and you'll understand me or you won't, tries to make it look like the casting couch.
oh yeah, that one. I remember that.
It kind of comes
Yeah.
with the couch. I would say you get there, there's a couch set up and a video camera pointing at it.
I see. So it probably didn't take too much of too much creativity to go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not
But
too much.
they did draw out the brand that was appropriate for such a scene as a custom design and hang it on the wall.
Okay, well, that takes time and effort.
That
Takes
one
time and
took
effort.
time and effort. Yeah.
Yep. It takes dedication to crafting a thing.
Yeah, it does. Oh, actually, on that same level, my friend Tom plays this game too, and he crafted. He sent me a photo of it. He crafted his room, his bathroom in there, to have the full size like TV camera and the security camera pointed right at the toilet.
See, that's closer to funny, because like when you craft some kind of artifact, right? Whether it's a screenshot in Animal Crossing or something, right? Um, it's fun to play with how people would react to it, right? And to put like Easter eggs, kind of, right? And there's a lot of things in Animal Crossing that encourage that. The forced perspective is one of them, right?
Mhm.
The camera is initially annoying to
Yeah,
me,
super annoying.
but then over time, and you see what people do with it, and you see how it forces you to play, and then I'm just like, I can work around this, and then it becomes, dare I say, fun. Like it's kind of an interesting limitation, right? Uh, and again, as a tool to create screenshots and artifacts and shit, it's interesting.
I will say that gets back to sort of the question of role playing, which is where my boyfriend and I sort of differed on our enthusiasm for playing, because I found a great deal of comfort in recreating my life. In certain cases, distancing myself from it. For example, my basement has the surveillance wall wallpaper from Sahara, so it's kind of like a panopticon dungeon. In the middle.
Okay.
But the rest of it is pretty much the house I would have if I were a tiny bobble-headed creature. And for me, it's really satisfying because I don't currently have that life. I live in New York during a pandemic. And
Yeah.
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 for him, like the thrill of collecting things to collect them was maybe not as enticing. And it made me think about how we role play to different ends.
Right, because that's the thing. If you're collecting things to collect them, like that activity needs to that goal needs to be satisfying. And if that's what you walk into Animal Crossing with, no. Like it doesn't do a great job of cataloging the things you've collected. It doesn't do a great job of rewarding
Well,
you when
there is
you
a catalog in the store because you can rebuy many of those things.
right. It exists, but it's not a great catalog, right?
It
Like it's not like you go to the catalog and you go like, look at my wonders, I'm the fucking king of the world, the way that like 98% of free-to-play mobile games do, where it's like, you're the fucking god. Like, no, this game is just like, here's some shit, you want to buy it again? Uh, what was that?
It's like a catalog in that way. It's like more
Well,
serious
it's
than anything.
exactly. It's more Sears than look at my works and despair, right?
Yes, it's if Sears catalog was alphabetical with zero context and no search feature.
I mean, look,
No, that's not true. You get previews of the thingies when you highlight them.
No, you get previews of things, but I mean, like, there's no like chair. Where do I find chair? Well, there's
Yeah,
no
so
chair.
that's
There's
another
sushi
thing,
chair.
they're antique, cute, etc., etc.
Yeah.
and that's another one of those things that like I come across and I'm just like, this is a dumb name for a dumb thing, design better. But then I go, right, children, right, Nintendo, okay, fine, I understand. I still hate it, but I understand. And it does make me want to go, like, indie darling, please come into creation because I want to play you.
I'm sure
Like,
there's stuff that tries to be like close to Animal Crossing, but with more features and stuff.
and if there isn't now, there will be, because there's no fucking way with the way that this game sold that there aren't savvy indie devs in the West who are going, I want money, please. Yes, Ken has food. Go ahead, please. Like it's god damn it, this thing sold like a fucking behemoth. It's crazy.
Hmm. And yeah, actually, part of my motivation for buying it was probably just like, well, I'm home. I'm all the time. I'm working from home all the time. My Switch is right there.
and 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 that's probably one of the main principles that I would want to be preserved in any kind of spiritual variant of Animal Crossing is, excuse me, playing this game passively is pretty doable.
Oh yeah, totally. Uh, I would never recommend anyone do this, but you have the ability to just pop it on for a few seconds while you're doing something at work that's really boring or on a
Right.
conference call that you don't care about.
And
Don't
that's
do
something
that,
that
but you
games
could.
on and that's something that games on these devices do a decent job at, is like, being a 5-minute time sink, like 5 minutes at a time, come back later, come back 7 times a day. Like that's kind of how they want you to play a lot of those games. Uh,
Yeah.
but they
I actually
also,
find that on the Switch, it's even better than on my phone. A lot of my phone games, like I
yeah,
turn it on, it's like, oh, it cleared the cache because it ran out of memory. Now it's reloading the game. I gotta wait.
yeah,
I
that
gotta do with the
happens.
Switch. You're just like, I push the button, I'm in the game.
Right, right. You're always going to have more control over what's actually installed when you're dealing with a console, because on a phone, it's just like when you hit download thing, users are impatient. The assumption is that users are impatient, and it's like, download it now. And then the operating system's like, all right, well, I got to clear memory, so I'm just going to do shit. The Switch is just like, yo, you need some fucking space. Press A to create some fucking space, Like, uh, but anyway,
There was a
I don't
mobile
know.
game for Animal Crossing too.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I tried playing that and I got 10 minutes into it and I was like, I fucking hate this.
You're into it because I was so starved. When either of you got into the franchise, but at that point I'd been waiting
GameCube?
some
I
time.
I played
technically,
GameCube and this one, that's it.
yeah. I technically played the first one. It was not my copy, it was someone else's copy, but it was fun at the time. Although looking back at them, like, wow, there were so many features that I would take for granted, and I can't go back to the old ones at all. But after the GameCube one, I didn't play forever, and then I got the Switch one. So yeah.
Mm.
I've been playing pretty consistently since I was in high school, so Wild World onwards. And there was just this sort of 7-year gap, and it was rough.
And that's one of the things that sucks about Nintendo platforms, is like the lack of backwards compatibility and all that stuff is just like, I remember that game so fondly. I guess I need to wait a decade to play a new one. Like, all right, guys, like just
President at the time.
exactly. And it's just like that stuff about Nintendo. Just I understand reasons why they do it. It still just pisses me off because it's just like, just release Mario Galaxy on the PC and stop being a bunch of assholes. Like, period. Like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But to go back to your concern, yeah, it's with franchises, I guess. Like, it's interesting when you're really starved for a thing. Would you say that there's common values, since you're value curious xenomorph? I don't know if you realize that. Uh, uh, what do you call it? Are there values in the franchise that have stayed consistent that keep you coming back?
Well, that's kind of funny because I began playing this series before I could articulate that this was a value. But I'm from West Virginia. I'm from a fairly rural area, and I've since read that the series is meant to evoke a certain kind of rural Japanese life. And
Mm.
grew up and moved to Pittsburgh, and then I moved to New York, and now I'm trapped in New York. And there's this kind of nostalgia.
Sorry, I hear the word trapped and I immediately start wanting to sing Trapped in the Closet. Please continue.
If you want to just do a quiet hum level, that would be fine. You could just sort of, do the background accompaniment. But there is this, yeah, this is good. This is good. There is this kind of, rural nostalgia that it evokes really well, and this kind of utopian kindness that maybe
Huh.
isn't coherent in terms of politics, but is borne out by each of the characters.
Yeah, there's definitely in a lot of games in the slice of life genre, I guess, you have this urban versus rural juxtaposition that is played with. Stardew Valley obviously does it, even though I didn't play that game very much. Like, just the opening minute is
Mhm.
just like, the city is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Go to a farm.
Hope your grandfather left you a farm.
Yeah, exactly right. My favorite thing to role play in Stardew Valley was when I discovered the JoJo Mart was a thing on the island, I was like, I will never, ever shop here. Period. Hard
I
stop.
didn't.
Exactly. But that's part of playing with the aesthetics that are being presented to you, right? Is like, here's this idyllic thing. I role play very differently in Animal Crossing because I am under the conspiracy theory that Tom Nook is essentially the devil, and I must kill him. But that's just my values. So you were saying like rural aesthetic is a value that has stayed through the whole franchise.
Well, now that you've brought up Tom Nook as devil, I would like to note that I have had a conversation with my boyfriend, the same one to whom the memorial shrine is dedicated, about whether Tom Nook and Isabel, etc., are simply multiverse travelers or if they're sort of gods, demigods, how it is that they are always present. That aside, yes, the rural aesthetic is the thing that I think is the most constant.
That's very funny.
That Tom Nook is a weird planeswalker. It's like, I'm on this island now.
Exactly. He obviously is, because whenever I visit a friend, he's there. So I've developed in my head a sort of personality to the character that I'm role playing in Animal Crossing that is, of course, absurdly paranoid, but also like staunchly and kind of obviously leftist as fuck. And so I do things like leave messages on my friends' message boards when I visit their islands that are like little pokes to basically be like, join the resistance, kill Tom Nook. And I put stupid amounts of work into it. And I enjoy playing that way because I push back on the values that the game is putting there. Like, it's just something I do. Like, if a system, including video game design systems, tells me that a thing is good or important or whatever, I'm just like, no, fuck you. Like, I'm gonna challenge you. And like, uh, I'm born in a city, so like all this rural shit is like fucking Narnia as far as I'm concerned.
Trees,
Whereas, what's a tree? I don't understand that statement. A what?
and grass, and you bundle them together on the workbench, you make a tree.
I thought
That
those were the things that grew in 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, do they grow in 3 days? Spoilers. God, I was actually running a whole experiment to figure out how many days it takes for a tree to grow, but
I
I,
think you need to
I
use one experiment.
oh yeah. I tried to do it once. The first trial failed because I did not play for 3 days straight, and the second trial is ongoing. And the next time that I pick up the game, it will have obviously failed because I haven't played the game in weeks. But
Oh.
uh,
Ooh,
I'm not good at consistency.
I just remembered one more complaint. Nobody explains to you the mechanics about trees growing depending on how close they are to other things.
But
That
that
bad.
is obfuscation. I don't agree that it's bad
There's no,
because
like, you would plant trees in what you thought is a natural pattern. Okay, so if you mimicked the random spawn of the trees around your island and went, I'm gonna plant my trees that close, they're
yeah.
never gonna grow, and you won't know why.
Okay. So that's an interesting point that you brought up, because if what you normally see naturally in the world does not work when you plant a thing,
Mhm.
that's confusing.
It
But
is.
what I do think is totally valid and is fine from my perspective is when I've played the game, I've basically treated it as, wait a second, those trees aren't growing. That's a signal to me that something is wrong. Let me run an experiment. Let me hypothesize. Let me play the game in a certain way. And fortunately, with some of the ways that the game is very forgiving relative to anything trying to be realistic, it's actually pretty forgiving about basically going like, oh, you think you made a mistake? Try to fix it. You're not going to lose anything. And what I mean concretely is digging up a sapling is easy. They never die, as far as I know. And like, you just take a shovel, dig it up, close the hole, move it over one, and then
Mhm.
dig it up again. And then tomorrow you can come back and just be like, oh, it's growing now. Huh.
Yeah, that part's not so bad. It's just the fact that if you tried to replicate what the game already had, you'd be like, nah, it didn't work. Why didn't it
Yeah.
work? I don't know. And if you're trying to make, like what I did, an orchard, be like, well, the best way to make an orchard is to plant all the trees one way, and the second they're done growing, move them into a completely different pattern because that's not the way they should have grown.
Because that's not the way they should have grown. I
Or
don't think I
that
follow.
the way that the distance they need to be from one another when they're growing is completely different from the distance you want them from one another when they're done growing and you want to save space.
But I disagree. Okay, the saving space thing. So space is a fascinating resource in this game, and I could probably talk for too long about it. But instead, I will ask WV Xenomorph what its thoughts are on eating people, but also the question that we were talking about.
Strongly pro. No, it is interesting because it's a different space than it has been in different installments in the franchise. It's an island. There isn't really room for expansion, although you could see the hills in previous games. So, you could have staked out some kind of rebellion and taken over the next town over, hypothetically. This is an island.
Sounds like you're role playing like me.
I'm sorry, but the thing you said way back about Tom Nook, like dimension hopping or something, I've been thinking about it for like 15 minutes now since you said it. And I'm just like, what is he really? Is he a watcher who wants to just see what we're going to do with power? Is the island real? Does it even exist in physical space?
First of all, welcome to my world.
You don't know what you just did to my Animal Crossing character, man.
That's not water. That's just the end of the little pocket dimension you're in.
What is water?
There is a script I've noticed for some animals to ask if they are in a game, and I find that really dark.
Yeah, no, one or two of them ask if they're in a game. Yeah. There's the one that doesn't trust Zavi at all. Actually,
Wait, there's one that doesn't trust me?
No, there's a happy monkey. He is the dumbest, most happy-go-lucky monkey on my whole island. He's like Curious George. But one time when you visited, he was like, hey, did you hear what his nickname is? And I can't actually remember what your nickname was. But it's
I
like,
change it all the time. But
yeah. But did you know the people on his island call him this? You gotta really wonder about a person who calls himself that, what they're capable of. And his smile just fades and he gets this serious look as he says what they're capable of.
I love that.
And
That's
then he
so
just
good.
hangs there for a while and then smiles again and looks at me and keeps talking.
That's so good. That's so good. And that's the thing, because the art direction is so strong, like that entire experience of having that conversation, the like what is obscured and what isn't obscured and what like information you're getting from this guy, it leaves a lot to the imagination, but it's charming enough that you're just like, what the fuck is this guy saying right now? Because I've had a few interactions like that, and unfortunately that is one thing that I don't do enough is interact with my villagers, because I'm a paranoid socialist, so I don't talk to people because that's what paranoid socialists do, and then they get killed. But anyway,
I don't know how you'll do that, but I am excited to see.
I mean, if I don't play the game, is my character dead? Anyway, but I think the interactions are good with the villagers, and there's such a long game with Animal Crossing, which is fascinating because this entry is on the Switch, right? It's a lot more possible that this could be a forever game, and it's a lot less defensible for Nintendo to never create content for it, right? Like the whole standard, I'm gonna make you wait for a fucking decade and then like push out a new game that you have to pay $60 for. Nintendo is not stupid. They want money and they want it yesterday. And like, if they get their act together about DLC and all that kind of shit, the way they have with Smash Brothers and some other games, Animal Crossing can print money. It already is. It's printing a lot of fucking money. So please do that, Nintendo, and don't be dicks about the pricing. Like it's but to go back to the point about time, like because of the way that time in this game syncs up with the real world, I fucking love what that does, because there are legit points in the game that you're done. and you might not even realize you're done until you like run around your island like a headless chicken for 5 minutes, and then you go, I'm fucking bored, I'm done. Like, because that's what happens to me. But it gives you a natural exit point, and that's honestly like an ethical design practice in my mind for video games, period. Like, so many games want you to play for 20 hours through their design in a row. It's just like, fuck your time. Like, you play this game now, because otherwise you're going to miss out on some stupid fucking skin. But Animal Crossing is like, go to sleep, motherfucker. And that's great.
I will point out that you can get around that, though.
Yeah,
Time traveling. And again, it goes back to this kind of kindness, because I haven't tried it, but I'm very curious what happens if you time travel and then you try to do multiplayer. Because if Nintendo has
multiplayer doesn't stop anything. I've gone to time traveled islands and nothing is broken. The thing they do to punish you is time traveling ruins turnips.
Yes. So because turnips, what the fuck are they? I don't remember.
They're the stock market.
No, I know. I just can't remember if they were turnips. Okay, so because turnips go bad, there's like you basically can't play the stock market if you do that.
Yes,
that's smart.
And the stock market
think
is
that's smart.
literally the best way to make money if you do it right. Oh, that actually reminds me, way back earlier when we were talking about, or when I brought that up, in the end, when I was on that Reddit page, I found somebody who put up a post that was 1 minute old saying, I'm on an island where my turnips are selling for 500. And I immediately replied, I'm like, let me on right now, please. And I went from playing the game normal to having more money than I need for the rest of the game.
And that's the thing is like, I don't know how much Nintendo is aware or gives a shit about the metagame, right? Like, again, kids game. Are kids gonna figure it out? Yes, if they put in enough effort, and if they do, okay. Like, it's a little bit tricky. Like, I know there was this mild controversy, I don't know, whatever. The whole thing about like having a single island is one thing that people bitch about a lot, and I don't share my console save with anyone, so I have no opinion on it. But Nintendo's defense was, we need to protect the economy, and it's just like, there's so many ways to game the economy. Okay, but people don't consider like the obfuscation, or a better word might be the hurdles that are put in place to effectively do that. For an adult, not that hard. For a kid, I don't know. But more importantly, people can't fuck up your game without you doing a thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like, that is a principle in this game that I think is important. And you say, of course, but like, every fucking survival game in existence has this problem where randos will constantly do fuck you up, right? And like, and a lot of people go like, that's just part of the game, get good. And I'm just like, it is not fun to jump into a Rust server, have two guys run down a hill making Native American sounds, and like murder me because I have a rock and they have spears. I will quit the game and ask for a refund, which is what I did.
Although most builder games, you have the option. I know it's not as baked in as the whole game, but you have the option to be like, my server's password protected. There you go. Nobody's allowed in.
Yeah, that's fair. Time check, by the way. Oh, is that reverse for you guys?
Reverse? No, that's straight.
It's reverse for me, which means it's reverse for the recording, but whatever. Yeah, just time checking you guys. As far as how long you guys want to talk, I don't know if you noticed, but I can talk until the cows come home. But yeah, sorry, you were saying.
No, the last thing I said was just a lot of these builder games, it's not just like the whole game is built around this. You can't have other people mess up your island, but you always have the option of, my server's private, there's a password, I'm playing single player.
Yeah, and that's one of my personal things, is like, I don't enjoy metagaming a game. I like to take the artifact of the thing and not do and do as little as possible outside of the artifact of the thing and what
I
it encourages
guess.
me to do. So
But
like,
what about the fact that most builder games kind of require a wiki if you want to play them really, really well?
I hate that. My
Uh,
favorite builder games have internal reference material, such as Eco. 7 Days to Die has somewhat of one. But that said, this is a preference, not a rule for me. So like,
hmm.
if a game is intriguing enough, I'll go, fine, let me go search for the wiki because I'm
Yeah.
sure there's
To
one.
be fair,
But
Minecraft is
Minecraft.
so
even
that's the
even
perfect
with all the
example.
tutorials, it's still you should have the wiki.
Just
Yeah, like early Minecraft, because Minecraft has evolved, right? Early Minecraft, you had a 3x3 grid, and it was like, how do I craft stuff? And the game is just like, and I fucking hate that. I want my hand to be held basically a little bit, and it's just like, teach me a thing. Don't just imply the thing as vaguely as possible, and then just do that. I I find that annoying. So when Minecraft in future versions made it A, configurable, and B, the default would just be like, here's your menu, here's the thing you can craft, press a button and you crafted it. I was just like, golf clap, yes. Like that's what I wanted. Um, but yeah, like that meta game element is something that I struggle with because I don't like partaking in it. I like sitting down with the artifact and just getting immersed. And when I have to switch context to look at
Mhm.
reference material that's not in the game, I'm just like,
Yeah.
just,
No, I get that. Which is what I had to do for the trees, unfortunately. But yeah.
yeah,
he persevered.
I persevered. Yes, clever popsicle persevered.
Yes. I mean, there's a certain amount of escapism that you may want and a certain amount of reference you may require. And the balance is going to be different for everybody. I don't mind looking things up because that's my native state. I'm
Mhm.
a reference material sort of xenomorph.
Yeah. I definitely agree that it's great if the game can just, you never have to leave the game to learn about the game. That's great, but I'm already used to, I need to leave it sometimes to look up a thing if it's just got me stuck.
Same.
Yeah, and for me, like I said, it's a preference, not a rule. It depends on a game. It depends on my understanding of what the game is and how I ought to play it, right? So like if I'm playing something indie, it's just like, okay, reference material is hard and it's technically in early access, so you don't work on the reference material until you're basically done with the game. That makes sense to me. But a game that is effectively a 1.0, slap a sticker on it, here you go, give me $60, that pisses me off when it's like, this is not done. Like that kind of feeling of just like, this artifact right here that you made me pay that much money for, like put the thing that's useful for the thing in the thing. Like that's what I want. Um, but yeah, it's I don't know, to bring it back to Animal Crossing, like it's good at doing that just through its pure simplicity, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I like the fact that crafting's pretty easy in there too. Yeah.
It's easy,
I
but it's
I I
also,
also enjoy the fact that you can craft a little faster if you mash the button.
yes, that's not an accident. Like
Yeah.
it's a fun thing. Like I remember when I discovered that and I was like, yay, I get to shave off fractions of seconds.
Yes.
Jazz hands.
I
And
mean, it's
but
good when you start crafting in bulk like I started doing, but yeah.
exactly. Crafting in bulk is a really interesting challenge that Nintendo worked around, right? Like crafting in bulk for children. Children will mash buttons all day. Crafting in bulk for adults, they're like, why can't I do 20 at a time? And there are reasons for that, I think, because Animal Crossing wants you to sit there and push buttons. It doesn't want you to have the option to push a button and walk away for 10, 20 minutes. This is not mobile Animal Crossing. This is console Animal Crossing, right? So that is a good, in my mind anyway.
Mhm.
It's okay, it is unlike real life in actually a way you just reminded me of, which is that your ambition sort of decides how hard it's going to be. You all start from the same place. that if you decide you're going to build a 5-star island and have, a storage facility full of fish bait, then you can do that. It'll take 300 hours, but you can do that. And if you want to play the stock market and you want to, spend 3 hours, as I did yesterday, selling your turnips, then you can do that.
You spent 3 hours selling the turnips?
Well, I was waiting for cues to. I was working.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, no,
I spent
waiting
an
for
hour
the
brushing my
cues is
teeth
work.
this morning.
Okay.
Huh.
I'm not good at life.
Wow,
The thing is that you can opt out in Animal Crossing. You can decide to have a one-room house that isn't very big, and you can have your little.
yeah, I'm
fish-
aware of at least one person who's like, my island has 3 people on it, and it's not getting any bigger. One person,
Yeah.
only one, but yeah.
Yeah, and like that's an interesting challenge again as far as space goes, but also definitely a complaint in terms of like why can't we have multiple copies? And Nintendo falls back on like economy, blah blah blah. And it's just like no, like
Yeah.
you didn't do it for the children, you didn't do it for other reasons, but you also didn't do it because it's gonna sell Switches, you fucking clever sons of bitches. So that's a thing.
I mean, I don't maybe I'm thinking differently than the rest of the purchasing, power of everyone else, but I don't know if it's like a system seller. It's like, oh, maybe it is. If you've got 2 kids, let's say, and one of them's got a Switch and they share the Switch all the time, but then one gets Animal Crossing, are you going to buy the other kid their own Switch because I can't play Animal Crossing now on our shared Switch?
You are if you can afford it and you spoil your kids, which a
Yes.
lot of people fit those criteria. Like
Yeah.
it's
And that's why the
the sort
Switch
of
Lite exists.
right, exactly. Like this is something that Nintendo is notoriously good at doing, is like they're not there are ways in which Nintendo is not targeting kids, they're targeting kids' parents.
Hmm.
And part of how you do that is by making things intentionally difficult. It's like a cousin to planned obsolescence. It's like planned go buy another Switch because your kid is fucking yelling at you. You know what I mean? Like, and no one's necessarily sitting in a boardroom going, "Oh yes, that's the master plan." But on some level, Nintendo is happy with the dynamic, right? Like,
Well, speaking of dynamics, and things that Nintendo did not plan, unless you want to get really tinfoil hat about it, there's a pandemic going on, and
Wait, there's a what? Sorry, it cut out a little.
the pandemic, the
Oh,
thing,
yes, that thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
I
thought
don't
it
know
was
what you're
a
talking
game.
about.
the big bad.
I've been indoors for 6 months. What's going on outside?
Uh, nothing good.
Nothing good. Okay.
So this happens to release at the same time that in America the pandemic sort of reaches a boiling point. And suddenly, in my life, a lot of my friends who don't play video games often or don't have dedicated consoles for video games are buying Switches or Switch Lites because now
Oh,
it's sold out. And there's a certain, I guess, entry level to Animal Crossing that is low enough that you can board the train pretty easily. So it's a system seller in a way that I don't think, because I'm, again, I'm not going there, that I do not think they anticipated. And yet it's still moving units.
Hmm.
yeah, wow. I didn't think of that really, but yeah, geez.
Well, there's no need to put a tinfoil hat on, so to speak. It's really as simple as capital is always happy when it earns more capital, when it
Yes.
accumulates more capital. So, like, no one needs to literally be in a boardroom going, coronavirus is good for us. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no one needs to be doing that to be benefiting from the circumstance.
This
It's as
crisis
simple as
is an
that.
opportunity.
It's not what?
This crisis is an opportunity. Is
Yeah.
more.
to quote one of my favorite characters, chaos is a ladder.
And I'm gonna get stabbed by a 12-year-old girl.
Yes, I will think that I outplayed everyone, and then I'll be like, that bitch. While crying. That was a great scene. Anyway, not about Game of Thrones podcast is video games is about.
Mm. What about the Game of Thrones video games?
Oh, those are good. But now we're off topic. Unless we want to be off topic. Like I said, it's 8:43. Do you know where your children are? I can record until the cows go home.
Hmm.
At some point.
Yes, that is fair. How do you guys feel about wrapping up?
I think I worked through most of the things I had to say about the game. Pretty sure. Yeah. Unless you want to start talking about every individual person on my island and why they're there and the stuff I built around them.
Not today.
I am free.
Tomorrow I'm free. This is going to become a very fastly recurring YouTube series. No, in all seriousness, down to A, do this whenever, B, invite more people, C, just keep doing the video game things in our private metropolis called Discord. We can keep the conversation going, as the YouTube kids say, but normally they're alluding to trying to develop parasocial relationships with viewers and get them to comment in the comments in order to make YouTube happy. Instead, what I propose
Wait,
is,
so you're saying we can make YouTube happy by liking and subscribing?
Just smash that like button.
I see you guys are also denizens of YouTube land. Smash, 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 smash. Anyway, what was that?
Hit that bell for notifications so you always know.
I think I know who's doing the intro next time. Anyway, no, we can do this again whenever, honestly. But that is meta conversation that hypothetical viewers that don't exist don't need to concern themselves with. So how do we feel like landing this plane?
Bring it home.
Who wants to bring
Nose
it? Who
down.
wants to bring it home? Not it. I said not it.
I mean, I did say nose down, so I think that's just hitting the stop button.
Oh, all right. So you just want me to abruptly stop recording? Is that accurate?
Maybe
I can do that whenever.
whenever.
All right.
I'm
Give me a
sure.
count.
Could you?
Give me. Does everyone consent to me pressing the stop button?
I guess so. To be continued.
Would it matter if we
it.
did?
That's not enthusiastic. No, because I have the power.
Oh,
All right.
I see.
If you guys, oh, that's things falling. Health potions are good for you. What do you say? You guys count me down, and I press the button.
Countdown from what?
I don't know. Figure it out.
3?
I don't know.
2?
27.
Well, hold on. I need to know when the countdown starts. Don't just say 3 and then he says 2, because then I'm just like, it's happening?
All right, Conrad, pick a number.
69.
Okay. 420. That would take a while.
Conrad, you fucking troll. All right, I counter your 69, and I raise you a 2.
1?
0?